Hello, everyone. I am excited. We're having our first webinar. Let me start over. Webinar of the year. We got this amazing, beautiful, and smart woman, Ms. Rhonda Thompson, who is going to be talking to us today about self-identity. Who are you on the inside? And I think we all have struggled with trying to figure out who we are, what that means, why we are that person, what do we want, what's our purpose. It's a lot of things that come in with understanding and aligning your identity. So I am super excited to see what direction she goes in with her presentation today. Inside and Out Consulting is a mental health organization. We strive to help all parts of the family, whether it's geriatric, whether it's children, whether it's adults, and we deal with many different scopes of mental health because we have a lot of amazing clinicians that work on the team, and one may work with trauma well, one may work with children well, one may work with veterans well. It just depends on the scope of that person. So we align you with the best clinician on staff. So check us out at insideandoutconsult.org. Well, a little bit about me real quick. I'm Dr. Sasha Johnson. I am the owner of Inside and Out Consulting. We will be doing these webinars. I'm trying to have them hosted at least once a month for you guys. This year, it's all about knowledge. It's all about understanding your mental health. But aside from that, it's about understanding your guide, your journey in life, your renewal, your mindset. Because sometimes we just get up and we go. We don't even know why we're doing. We just do it every day for no reason because we just that's what's on our routine. So either way, I'm gonna not talk you guys to death because you got a lot to hear, a lot of amazing things to hear. But before I bring her on, let me tell you, Rhonda is raw. Rhonda is pure and genuine, baby. Experience. She has books that she's going to talk to you about, journals, guides. She has experience with all scopes, really, to be honest with you. Her specialty is dealing with trauma. And you know what? She also, you guys, guess what? She was a radio host, and I think she's still starting that back up. And the funniest radio host I ever met. She is funny, and again, like I said, raw. So without anything else being said, I'm going to bring Rhonda on so you can hear the knowledge and see and feel the energy of this beautiful woman.
Tis the season.
Sorry, guys, we're not going back to Christmas. Hello, Rhonda.
Hey, Dr. Sasha, thank you so much. Oh my God, what a great introduction. Thank you.
Look, it was easy. I didn't even need your bio.
I'm very, very honored and very happy to be here supporting you in this. You and I have come a long way. I'm glad you mentioned the radio show because you were actually a guest on my radio show before you launched off into your radio show. So I like to think I had something to do with that, with how fast it came out.
Yeah.
But
inspired me for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I love aligning with strong women because, a lot of times in the culture as women, we don't help each other. And especially, and I'm just going to say it, opposite sides, that ebony ivory thing that we've always had. But the thing is you and I, we always connected because our stories are very parallel. Yes. And I'm just so happy that we have another opportunity to support one another, no competition. We don't compete. We complement. And
yes.
And everything you're doing is very well deserved. And I'm just so proud of you. And I'm just so glad to be here on your side, on the other side as the guest rather than the interviewee. So thank you.
Well, we appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to hearing about this topic because I just know you. And I know you're going to give it to us, but you're going to give it to us with a twist as always. And it's going to be interesting. So I'm super excited. And yes, you guys, we go way back. We may have some things coming out in the future. You never know. Rhonda she is a trooper. That's the best way to describe her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the focus all on Rhonda. Rhonda, you're about to have the floor, and I'm going to come off of this screen. Nobody will be looking at my red lipstick. I will be here watching.
Red lipstick. Ellipsis
Huh?
popping.
Yes, everybody who's here, please share, 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 share. And I'll be popping back on in a few. I'm just going to give the floor to you.
All right, I appreciate that. All right. Well, hey everybody. My name is I go by Rhonda T and ATL. That's what everybody knows me by, as far as my radio name. But yeah, I'm very honored to be here. And tonight we're going to talk about self-identity. Who am I on the inside? And I have a lot of stuff I'm gonna cram in because I don't have a whole lot of time. As you see, I'm still at work right now. So very graciously, my boss is allowing me to do this. So thank you. But here we go. So self-identity. What is self-identity? Well, I'll give you the background clinical parts, and then we'll get into the raw part, like Dr. Sasha said. So a lot of times people wonder, what's that age old question? Who am I? Why am I here? What is my significance? That's
We can't hear you. Oh, you back.
I
You're back.
my somebody tried to call me and I
It's okay.
popped it,
You're
popped
fine.
it up. So, what I was saying was, as far as self identity, that's an age old question. Who am I? What's my significance? What's my role? Why am I here? All of that is part of self identity, right? Because each of us tries to see what makes us unique and what makes us special and why are we the way that we are, right? And where did that come from? It didn't just happen. Well, self identity is something that's been studied for many, many, many years. And I'm just going to start with just a little bit of a definition and a background. So, identity is made up of a core, and some things that you choose, and some things are given, some things are formed, some things are inherited, right? So, it's a combination of both internal and external factors that go into play to make your self identity. Because if you can't answer the question, who are you, or what's your gift, or give me three great things about you, then that lets us know that you have an issue with self identity. So what we're going to start with is what you believe, where you belong, what you are, what you do. All of that has a part of how you see yourself, because identity is how you identify, and this goes a lot of different ways. Okay, and we're going to go into even into the LGBTIQ community. I'm going to answer some questions there that everybody always asks me about, because that's a big clientele that I have. We're going to go into, how do you see yourself and how is that formed? We'll start off by, let me just ask you this question. How many of you have ever had somebody say to you when you were little, you're never going to be anything, or you're stupid, or you're just like so and so, or you're going to end up just like so and so? Well, when somebody you love and you trust says that to you, you believe it, right? And so you then start to see yourself as dumb. You're never going to make it. You're going to end up just like so and so. So self identity is how do you see yourself and how do you identify? It's a combination of self esteem, self concept, self love. So all of that goes together. So at the very core of identity formation is what's called the human personality. Your personality shapes who you are and how people see you. Well, then how does your personality get formed? That's a question, right? Like, how does that come to be? Because everybody's got different personalities. Well, there's a whole lot of theorists and everything that have their version. And I'll just touch on them real quick. There's a gentleman, Erickson. He believed that the seeds of identity are planted at a young age when a child recognizes himself or herself as a unique being. And Erickson created something called the 8 stages of life, and he's got something called virtues that go with it. So he's got his version. But one of the things that Erickson is known for is he's the one that coined the term identity crisis. Because a lot of times, if we don't know who we are or what we stand for, that is then called an identity crisis. And you're constantly trying to answer that question, who am I? Why am I here? So that's a little bit about that. And also, everybody, has heard of Freud, of course. Well, he came up with the ego, the id, the superego, and those are all parts of identity as well. So, all these theorists had their ideas and stuff. And this is something that's been talked about for years and years and years and years. But one of the things that I love, the person that I love the best, and I'll share with you, is a, an American, he's a sociologist. His name is Charles Cooley. And he said, and I'm going to have to say this a couple of times because the first time I heard it, it blew me away. This is what Cooley says. He says, I'm not what you think I am. I'm not who I think I am. I am who I think I am. So I'm going to say that again because it's kind of like a tongue twister. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am. So, and that really does speak to us because, you grow up and your parents say, you should do this, you should have this kind of education, or our family's always been in this. So you grow up thinking, hey, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? That's part of identity. But you don't really have a say so in that. So it's not really self identity. It's kind of like conforming to the echo chambers of your family, so to say, because they have a certain expectation of you. They, may want you to get married, or if you've got military background, they're like, well, everybody has served in the military, so you're going to serve in the military. All our family are doctors, all our family are lawyers, all our family goes to Ivy League schools. We went to this school, you're going to go to that school. That's not self-identity. That's somebody else's identity imposed on you. And when you don't like what they say, or you don't fit in to their box, so to say, now you have what's called an identity crisis because you don't know who you are. And you're doing what you're told to do, but maybe you don't have the passion for it. Maybe you don't really like it, but you don't want to say anything because it goes against the family. So now you have an identity crisis. So, that's where we come up with self-identity. Who am I on the inside, really? Like, what makes me Rhonda? Well, I know I love to hear birds sing. I love, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like I would love to say I can hide my emotions, but I can't. But my heart is one of my biggest gifts. So I know that I'm always going to encourage people. I know that I'm always going to empower people. That's just part of who I am. I'm that annoying one that's going to see the positive side of everything. But and it'll irk some people. But one of the strengths in that is no matter who you are or where you come from, I'm going to see past where you are. I'm going to see the greatness in you. And I'm going to remind you of that because a lot of times when we're in a situation, that's our reality at the moment, but that's not our final destination. But depending on how we see ourselves, limits where we can go. So self-identity is so important because how you see yourself really matters. And I'll get into a little bit about why I like to talk about identity so much. One of the questions I ask my clients all the time, and it's actually the name of my workbook I did, I'll say, whose eyes do you see yourself through? Are they even yours? Because think about it. You grow up with what everybody says about you, and you think this is what you're supposed to do. So the question is, how do you see yourself, and whose eyes are they coming from? Do you see yourself from the eyes of your mom, from your dad, or somebody in your family, or somebody in your life, that was important to you? Do you see yourself according to the school teacher that said you weren't going to make it? Do you see yourself according to the friends that said, you weren't nothing or you weren't doing anything? Do you see yourself as what somebody tried to put on you, that you're going to end up just like somebody else in your family? So how you see yourself matters. And the way you get to that is a lot of self-reflection and going inward, right? So what we can do is we can look at those messages that we hear in our head. And one of the ways to see how you see yourself is to pay attention to what are called automatic negative thoughts that automatically come up. So for example, if you're going for a job, and, if you get this thing in your head that, well, I can't apply for that job because I'm not smart enough. Or if you are in a room and, and you're looking great and you're looking fabulous and you see this real handsome guy over there, but you're like, oh, I can't talk to him, and you go to somebody less handsome because you don't think you're good enough or on that same level. It's how you see yourself. So you'll limit yourself because how you see yourself actually shapes the way you see not just yourself, but how you see the world, how you show up in it, and how you see your future. So, like, if you feel at the core that you're not worth being loved, for example, and you see yourself as unlovable, well, then that message is going to play over and over and over again, and it's going to filter every single thing you do. That's why self identity is so important. And a lot of times, the identity that we have, the reason I ask is whose eyes do you see yourself through? Are they even yours? Is because truly they're not even our own eyes. We're just repeating what expectations are. And when we do that, we can't find fulfillment. We can't find that authentic sense of who we are. We can't find out who we truly are. And like, you may love to do something and your family just hates it. Maybe it goes against everything in your family, but it really gives you fulfillment and joy. Well, then who do you honor? Are you true to what your family expects? Or are you going to be, like they say, to thine own self be true? Because if you are not true to yourself and your self identity and who you are and what you want to do, and you succumb to what other people say, well, now you're not living the life that you were created to do. And you're sacrificing your happiness, you're sacrificing your authenticity, you're sacrificing your pure joy, right? And everybody on this planet is here for a reason. And everybody has a destiny. Everybody has a sense of joy and purpose. Everybody's got a sphere of influence. Like the people that I talk to, maybe Dr. Sasha can't talk to. The people that Dr. Sasha talks to, I definitely can't talk to. We each have our own sphere of influence. So if you don't honor who you are truly at the core, and you love and accept yourself and your identity, then you're never going to progress to all that you are supposed to be because you're going to limit yourself again. So that's why we want to get in and dig in and see where does this identity come from. And I can bring, and I'll touch on this a little bit because a lot of people, ask this question. My clientele is everything. They're heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, pansexual, binary, non-binary, transgender. They're all everything. And a lot of times people don't understand identity in a sense of gender, okay, or in the sense of even sexual identity. And I want to touch on that just a little bit because we can look into self-identity for ourselves and what our family said, but now if we do something that the family thinks is taboo or the church thinks is taboo, well, now they don't know how to talk about it. And it really comes down to identity still. So I want to just real fast, some of the things that come up all the time, people ask me, well, what does this term mean? And I just want to clarify that, okay, to give some understanding, because to get to that sense of self-identity, you have to have knowledge and you have to know yourself so much. And if you're already trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do in the what's considered social norms, that's hard enough. But once you go outside of social norms and what everybody expects, it becomes even harder. And you have not just an identity crisis, but you've got other things going on. But I just want to clarify, in the LGBTIQ community, all right, just some terms that come up. There's something, okay, so I'm just going to list just a couple ones that come up all the time because there's too many to list, okay? But a lot of people will ask me, well, I'm going to say this. This might surprise you, okay? But heterosexual people, okay, or people that were born female and identify as female, or people that were born male and identify as male, are actually called cisgender. And a lot of times people don't understand it. They're like, no, I'm not that. They think you're saying something else. But cisgender simply means you identify as the sex that you were assigned at birth. So that's called cisgender, okay? And so now we get into what's binary, what's non-binary. Well, binary is you're either male or female. It's just like when you do computers, you got the binary system, zeros and ones. It's either male or female. And so when somebody says they're non-binary, that means they don't identify as male or female. And that causes a lot of confusion because people are like, well, I gave birth to a daughter. Now she wants to be called he, him. I don't get that. Well, it's not for you to get because it's their gender expression, it's their identity, it's what they choose, how they choose to express themselves. Um, and then you've got, and I'm just going to say a couple that people don't hear all the time. You've got something called gender fluid. Now, gender fluid is a gender that describes a person whose gender identity may continually change throughout their lifetime. It's not on one specific thing, it goes wherever. It's fluid, like water, it goes wherever. And when somebody identifies as they, them, then what that means is they could be attracted to male or female or personalities in essence. So it doesn't matter. It could be transgender, it could be all kinds of stuff. So that's a little bit just to give you an idea of some of the questions. Now, so imagine if you're already trying to figure out who you are, and let's throw in you've got something outside the societal norm, and you're part of the LGBTIQ community and you're trying to identify how do you want to identify. That brings a whole nother level of anxiety, shame. A lot of families have a hard time accepting that, but at the end of the day, whether you're straight, whether you're heterosexual, homosexual, what doesn't matter. What I always tell my clients is it's your life meant to be lived on your terms. You don't need permission from anybody, period. And you don't have to give an explanation to anybody. But when you finally tune into what makes you the most comfortable, what you identify with at the core, your self being, that's where freedom comes in. That's where you're able to live an authentic life. That's where, you're able to find fulfillment and joy. And the thing is, whatever your identity is, it's nobody's business to get upset about. So I also want to bring some understanding to people that really get upset about things they don't understand. It may not be for you to understand. It's not your life. Why do you care? I mean, that's just saying it like point blank, but at the end of the day, it's the truth. My family is multicultural. All right. I'm Italian, and my oldest daughter, her dad was Puerto Rican. When I was married, my husband was Black. So all my kids are multiracial. People have a lot of problems sometimes, even with interracial relationships. They can't identify with that. But with me, I felt comfortable with the whole culture of because I'm Italian. So a lot of people don't identify with that. It doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong. It's just a preference. It's just that's what I identify with. And that's where a lot of problems in families come. And I see this all the time with clients, whether it's the people that are trying to figure out their identity, whether it's the family members who can't accept somebody else's identity, and they're trying to figure it out. There's a sense of anxiety. There's a sense of not being sure, but then there's this struggle to be who you are at the core naturally. And so you have to give people grace because it's their life meant to be lived on their terms. And so I hope with this message about self-identity, what comes out of this is that we learn to be a little bit more tolerable of other people's choices, because at the end of the day, it's their choice, right? It's not your choice anyway. So why would you like cut yourself off from somebody simply because of a choice they made or how they choose to identify? Because you're actually going to miss out on some great people and some loving people. And that's something that's between them because it's their self-identity. It's how they identify. So no matter what it is, all we can do is support one another. And if you are the person that is trying to search for their identity and you're trying to figure out who are you, why are you here, I want to speak to you real fast before I have to get off here and say, whose eyes do you see yourself through? And what I mean by that is when you think of yourself and you hear those messages in your head, one way that I help clients get through this is I'll ask them the question. I say, okay, get whatever that thought is in your head that you're hearing, whether it's negative or whatever. And I'll ask, whose face do you see? Whose voice do you hear? Because 9 times out of 10, those are the eyes you see yourself through. And that's a clear way to begin to figure out, hey, is my identity even my own or is it somebody else's? And if you go through that and you figure out, wow, every time I think of myself and what I want to do, I see my mother criticizing me, or I hear what somebody said, or maybe a teacher said you were never going to be anything. Because what happens is we grow up believing that, and we're going to go one of two ways. We're either going to follow suit or we're going to do everything we can to prove that not true. So, in the case of if somebody said you were stupid, you may grow up to be that person that's an overachiever. You have to get A's, A's, A's. You got to get promotion after promotion after promotion, degree after degree after degree. I did that. That's why I have so many degrees. I'm just going to be transparent with you because I never saw myself as worth keeping because of something that was said to me and shown to me. So I lived my whole life thinking that's how I saw myself, and it wasn't true. So breaking yourself out of that is a process, and I strongly encourage you, if you don't have a therapist right now, give us a call. We can definitely connect you. We've got wonderful therapists. If you're not local, that's fine. Get somebody that you can talk to, a therapist, and begin that journey, because that beginning to figure out who you are, that starts with you. Transformation starts with you. And I want to encourage you, excuse me. One of my radio show right now is called Me Powered, and my tagline is Me Powered with Rhonda. And my tagline is everything you need to succeed is already inside of you. So your answer to everything you're looking for is inside you already. And one thing I tell clients is the only way out is through. So you have to go through. You got to figure this out. You have to face those things you don't want to face. You got to ask those questions you don't want to ask. You got to feel those feelings you don't want to feel. You cannot heal if you don't feel. You cannot even begin to figure out who you are if you don't know what you even like. If all you hear is somebody else's voice in your head. So let's begin that journey together. And it's an exciting one, and it's a painful one, and it's a rewarding one. But you're never going to get to who you're created to be until you do the work to see where you come from, meaning how you were formed and how you see yourself. Because remember, how you see yourself affects the way you see the world, affects the way you see the future, and it affects everything that you do. You actually limit yourself by the way you see yourself. So self-identity is at the top of the list. So self-love, self-care, your self-concept, all of that, we want to make sure that it's healthy, positive, and it's pushing you in that direction to be all that you can be. Because once you tap into that authenticity, guess what? You're going to kick ass all over the place and you're going to rock it. And that is where freedom is. And that's where I want you to be. And that's all I'm going to say right now because I know I got to be mindful of the time. And I take a breath. I don't even think I took a
No,
breath.
you didn't. You didn't, but that was awesome. That was really, really, really awesome. I saw a question, I saw one question, and guys, go
Okay.
ahead if you have other questions, go ahead and throw it in
Yeah,
the
I can't see
comments.
the
So the
question.
first,
So just
huh?
tell me. I can't see the question. So
Oh,
just
it's okay.
the
I'm
question.
about to read it to you. So
Okay.
it says, but how do you handle it when it comes to kids dealing with all identities issue? I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, what you do is you love them through it and you support them and you allow them to figure it out. And what the biggest thing is don't ostracize. Educate yourself. Find out, because if you don't understand these terminologies, like there's a okay, I can give you a website. Hold on, I have a if you're talking about gender, the Center of Excellence, LGBTIQ Behavioral Health and Equity, they have a glossary that has all the terminology. So, like with anything, educate yourself, because how are you going to speak on something or understand? You got to meet your kids where they're at. And the
Yeah.
thing is they ain't where you're at. And you got to get on their level. You got to meet them where they're at, love them through that, and allow them to ask the questions. And don't be shocked. Don't be like, oh my God, your kid's not a monster. There's nothing wrong. And parents, let me say this has nothing to do with you. A lot of times parents have the problem. They think, oh my gosh, if my kid comes out as something else, how are people going to see me? They're going to see me as I was a bad parent, that I failed. The church is going to see me as so. It don't have nothing to do with you. This is your child. I don't care what they do. I don't care how they identify. You love them and you support them, because that's the biggest problem with people committing suicides. But one of the highest rates of suicides is simply from rejection from their family, because they can't be who they are. And at the end of the day, this is your child and you're here to love them. You're not here to choose their lifestyle for them.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I think that we forget that we put all of this into our children, raising them. And whenever they become adults, we have to trust that we've done our job
Mm-hmm.
and allow them to be unique and within who they are. And a lot of times it may not necessarily be what you agree with, but you are who you are and your child is who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's beautiful when you can blossom. I saw somebody say leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in a lot of sense, you are blossoming a person that's just different.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like everybody else.
All right.
And you may think it's good, you may think it's bad, but at the end of the day, they're being who they are. And sometimes we're frustrated with our children for being who they are
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know who we are as people,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know. And we're jealous. We like, how you know who you are already and you're good with
Exactly.
it. I don't know. I'm still hiding who I am.
Yep.
I loved this. I remember the webinar, and you made me think about it years ago at Alabama State University in Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when all of the additional acronyms started popping up to
Mm-hmm.
support the LGBT IQ community. But at that time, it was just LBT. I'm sorry, LGBT. That's all I had heard about.
Yeah.
And then it got into the fluid, and the one that stuck out to me, you guys, I gotta say it was, I don't know if you see it on your screen, on your glossary, was gender fuck. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what does that mean?
Yep. Yep.
And so and a lot of the terminologies they're similar to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
just respect the culture, and I respect
Mm-hmm.
that despite whether it's gender, despite whether it's color,
Mm-hmm.
despite whether it's a interracial marriage or whatever, everybody chooses the life that they choose, and you should be good with that because you chose the life you chose.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, but I love it, Rhonda. You did an awesome job. Everybody in the comments have been saying you did awesome. Um,
You.
you guys make sure you see at the bottom when I say follow on IG, Rhonda TNATL.
Oh, yeah.
Rhonda, you say you also had a guide or a book that was coming out.
Yeah.
I hear you mention it. Why aren't you
Yeah.
promoting yourself?
I have a workbook. It's called "Whose Eyes Do You See Yourself Through? How to Make Sense of Your Life and See More Clearly." And it's a picture of me with glasses on, and because it's one of those awesome selfies I took, I was like, "Oh my God, this looks like a cover." So I actually used myself on the cover. But it's on Amazon, and I have a whole bunch myself, like inventory. So if anybody wants that, reach out to Dr. Sasha, and I'll let you know how we can get it to you. It's $20. So yeah, just let me know. Um,
Awesome.
or if you're questioning, or if you're somebody that's truly struggling, um, reach out to Dr. Sasha, because I'll give like 5 away for free. So if you're truly trying to figure out who you are, yeah, we'll give you the information.
Well,
Okay.
if you want one, guys, come in the comments
Mm-hmm.
and let us know that you would like a copy of her book. She said she's giving 5 away for free. Thank you, Rhonda.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you guys just, check out insideandout.org. We have a lot rolling out. We are starting a new in-person group I'm planning to start. And we also have one virtually, but it looks like we may end up with maybe 3 groups.
Mm-hmm.
But right now we have one. So it's a lot of amazing things going on at this organization, and a lot of amazing people that want to give back to you.
Mhm.
So, Rhonda, again, I appreciate you. I thank you for coming on and doing this at work.
Yeah.
That really shows you're dependent and you're amazing and you're professional. And I love it. And I love it, love it, love it. And she did this for me and didn't question anything. She just said, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Hmm.
So, you guys, please share this. We need to hear this. You know, whether you want to hear this type of information or not, it's in your face.
Yeah.
It's happening. So stop trying to ignore it. You know, you can be in a church, you can be at home, you can be wherever you want to be, and you're still going to
Mhm.
run into
Yeah.
people that are struggling with self-identity. And the person, you may not need to run because the person may be right in the mirror looking at you.
Mhm.
So stop trying to run from this. Please share, 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 because people need to see this. People need to hear this. Rhonda, I thank you so much again. You guys follow Rhonda TNATL, please. And
Mhm.
I appreciate you guys so much. And I hope you have a great night.
Thank you so much. Bye.